No, it's not. No, it is ours. I guess I can leave that on. Alright. I guess it is alright. Oh, I also need to watch the stream chat. Right, and then plug that in so we can charge. Okay. Blender. Ah, loud. Very loud. Shut up. Make sure that this is working the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, okay, for sure. Oh, come on, cat. Why must you do this? Stepping on the cord. Right. Animating. I guess just nothing really about animation. Let's try this. Oh yeah, huh? Wow, crazy.
In this beginner tutorial, I'm going to show you the basics of animation in Blender. So I'm going to go over all of the basic things that you need to know to get started with animation in Blender. So I'll be going over things like the timeline, adding keyframes, and using the graph editor to edit your animations. And then at the end of this tutorial, I will show you how to animate the cube. So we're going to add some life to the cube and kind of make it look like it's jumping and kind of looking around. And we'll be creating this animation right here. Now, if you want to learn the basics of animation in Blender, then I would recommend watching the entire tutorial, but I will also have timestamps in the video description if you'd like to hop to a certain part of this video. And I will also have a free download of the project files for this tutorial on my Gumroad store and my Patreon, links in the description if you want to check that out. And I am trying to make Blender tutorials and Blender content for a living, so if you'd like to help support me and my YouTube channel, then some great
am I hearing
places.
a grainy filter on my ears? Like, is my ear? Are my ears just? Is my headphone just having an issue right now? Hold on. No. Just do this. No, I think something's wrong with my audio, and if that is the case, that's going to suck. Yeah, it is my headset. All right. Well, I guess I gotta live with that. Whatever's fine.
To help support me are on my Gumroad store and my Patreon page. So on my Gumroad store and Patreon page, you can get 3D models and assets, you can get the tutorial files and artwork project files, and you can also get procedural materials and some exclusive tutorials as well. So when you're doing animation, you need to add keyframes, and those keyframes are going to tell Blender what is going to be animated and where it's going to be animated. So you're going to be adding keyframes at different time points in Blender. So right down here under Blender's 3D 3D viewport, we have this right here, and this is the timeline. And so in the timeline, you're going to be adding different keyframes, and you're going to be adding those keyframes to bones or objects or values. And then you'll move to a further place in time in the timeline, and then you'll add another keyframe. And so that's going to tell Blender to go from one keyframe to the next keyframe. So let's start by adding some basic keyframes. Now I need to delete the default cube because that's what we always do. So I'm just going to double tap the A key and we'll press X to delete, and I'm going to delete everything. So I'll now press Shift A, and I'm going to be adding a cube because, you know, you can't use the default cube. You have to always add a new one. All right, so let's just do some very basic animation to this cube. So I'm going to select the cube, and then
I should probably start a new thing as well. Hold on. Let's said Shift A. No, it's add. Control A. No. All deletes. Shift A and add a cube. That's a plane, and not the flying kind.
I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to scrub this blue line here on the timeline, and I'm going to bring it all the way back to frame 1 so we can
Sorry, frame 1, so it's fine.
Start doing the animation. All right, so we are now at frame 1 and the cube is right here, and so I want to add a keyframe to tell it that that's where the cube is going to start. So to add keyframes, you are going to press the I button. So make sure your mouse is hovered in the 3D space and then press I, and I is the shortcut key to inset a keyframe. Now you do have a bunch of different options here, and so this is asking you what values you want to add keyframes onto. And when you're animating objects in the 3D space, there are 3 main values that you're going to use: the location, the rotation, and the scale. So if you press G to grab, that is going to change the location. If you press R to rotate, that'll change the rotation. And then if you press S, that is going to change the scale. So when you press I, it's going to ask you what values you want to add keyframes onto. Now, if you want to add a keyframe that's going to affect all 3 of those values, you can just click on this one right here, which is location, rotation, and scale. So after you press the I key, you can just click on any of these ones. I'm going to do the location, rotation, and scale.
Okay. So press I. And then rotation, and scale.
And when I do that, you can see that right down here on the timeline, we have this.
One. There we go. Yes, yeah, there's the keyframe. All right.
This little yellow diamond. And so that is Blender telling us that we have a keyframe on that part of the timeline. And also, if you press the A key to deselect the cube, you can see that now the diamond is gone. And so in the timeline, you're only going to be able to see the keyframes with the object that's selected. So if I now select this object again, then there is the diamond. And also in the timeline, if you press the A key, just like selecting and deselecting objects, if you press A in the timeline, that is going to select and deselect the keyframes. So we have now inserted a keyframe right here. So I'm just going to move over to frame 100. So you can just scrub with the timeline, just click and drag and move over to frame 100. And I now just want to transform the cube. So I can just press G to grab, and I'll also rotate it. So I'll press R to rotate it. And if you wanted to, you could also press S to scale and just scale that up. Now, if we move our timeline, or if we play the timeline, it's not going to keep this. And that's because we haven't added a keyframe on this value. So if I move this, you can see it's going to hop back to the original value. So I just need to do this again. So I'm going to bring it over, I'll rotate it, and then I'll also scale it. So we now need to add a keyframe right here to tell Blender that that's where we want the next keyframe to be on frame 100. So again, I'm going to press I, and I'm going to click on location, rotation, and scale.
Okay. So press I and do that. Oh, I should have do that and then move it. Go forward a bit. Oh, I see. I have to move it first. And then I do that. So now if I do this, I did not mean to do that. Gosh darn it. Okay then. Cool. Now what?
Scale. So now that I've done that, if I scrub through the timeline, you can see it's going from the first keyframe to the second keyframe. Now I'm just going to press Control Z to undo that, and if I press I again to add a keyframe, this time I could just click on rotation. And you can see now that I did that, it's moving the location, but because I didn't add this keyframe for the rotation and the scale as well, it's only going to add a keyframe to the location.
Okay.
And so the rotation and scale aren't going to be changed. Now to be able to visualize this a little bit better, if I press the N key, that is going to open up this side panel, and I'm going to go right down here to item. And you can see right here on item, we now have this transform tab right here. So this is showing us the transform values for this object. So as I talked about earlier, we have 3 different transform values. We have the location, and that is going to be moving it around. We have the rotation to rotate it, and then we have the scale to scale it up or down. And each of these transform values have 3 values within them because we have the X and the Y and the Z axes. So those are all the axes in the 3D space. So I'm just going to press Control Z to undo that a few times, and then I now want to add a keyframe, but this one I want to affect the location, rotation, and scale. So I'll press I again, and then I'm going to click on location, rotation, and scale. And now it's done it for all the values. So now if I click and drag to scrub the timeline, you can see it is rotating and scaling the cube as well. Now you may have noticed something, and that is that these values right here have different colors. So if there are no keyframes on these values, they're just going to be the default gray. So you can see all these different values here in Blender, they're just normally the default gray color. If there is animation on those values, then they're going to be green. So green is basically telling you that there is animation on that value, but there isn't a keyframe on that exact frame. If I move over to frame 100 where there is a keyframe, they're going to turn yellow, and that is Blender telling you that there is a keyframe right at that part in time. So you can animate the cube in the 3D space, but you can also animate these values. So let's say I want to go over to maybe 150, and then I want to change the location and rotation. So what I can do is I can click and drag, and I can drag these values. So let's just move the cube over, and then also maybe I want to rotate the cube, so we're going to rotate that over. So now what I can do is I can just add keyframes to these values because these are the only ones that are changed. So to add keyframes to these values, I could press I and then insert a location and rotation and scale, or in this case just a location and rotation because I didn't actually change the scale. But instead what I can do is I can just hover my mouse over the values, and then I can press I, and that is going to add a keyframe to these values. So I can hover.
So if I move this again, hold on, go to 150. Say do this. Then press I on these. Neat. All right. Hello, cube. How are you doing? How's your day going?
My mouse over this value and press I, that is going to add a keyframe to the values. And I can also just right click, and I can right click on these values, and then you can see I can add a keyframe, or in this case I can replace the keyframe because I already have a keyframe at that value. And now if you scrub through the timeline, you can see that it moves up here, and then we have the other keyframes, and so the cubes moves over. And I will go over this later on in this tutorial, but you can animate pretty much any value in Blender. So just like we animated these, you can animate pretty much any value in Blender, all these different values in Blender, but I'll go over that in a moment. So I'm going to press the N key now to close that side panel. Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about how to use the timeline.
Press N key. Oh, my thing's on the side, so I guess it doesn't matter, but let's see.
So if you just
good, currently at my grandma's house. I mean, I just woke up, and I am trying to learn how animating works, so that way I can start making animations with all the scenes and rigs that I've been setting up with the Pokemon.
Just click and drag right up here on these numbers, then that is going to move the timeline around. Now, if you want to play the timeline, you can click on the play button right here, and that is going to play the timeline. And then you can see there is also a pause button. So you can click on that pause button to pause the timeline. And then there also is a play backwards. So you can click on that button, and that is going to play the animation backwards. And you may also see me just clicking and dragging right down here. That is because I'm using the right click select, so I can click and drag right down here. But for most of you who are using the left click select, you'll just click and drag right up here on the numbers.
At some
now, there
point,
also are
you'll
some
be able
other
to get a
buttons right
grasp
here.
of it, like
so
I'm
these
going
buttons
to.
jump to the
I
next
hope I
keyframe.
can.
So if you click on that, it's going to jump to the next keyframe in the timeline. And you can also click on this button here, and that is going to jump back. Now, these buttons right here on the very outer edges, those are going to jump to the start frame and the end frame. So if you click on this, you can see it's going to go to frame 1, and if I click on this, it's going to go to frame 250. So depending on how long your animation is, you can change the start and end frame. So for instance, I could just have my animation end at frame 160, but you can see the default is 250. So if I just click on this end value right here, I can just type in 160 and then hit enter, and you can see now the end frame is going to move to here. Now, another thing you can change is the frame rate. So if you click right over here on the output properties, let me just make this a little bit bigger, you can change the frame rate. So the frame rate is basically telling Blender how many frames are going to be within 1 second. So the FPS, that stands for frames per second. Now the default is 24 frames per second, and for most things, 24 frames per second is going to be just fine for your animations. I am recording this video in 60 frames per second because I want it to be nice and smooth. I'm using OBS, my screen recording software, to record this, but for most animations and things, you're just going to use 24 frames per second. If you want it to be more smooth, you could turn it up. So for instance, I could turn it up to 60, and that's going to be a lot more smooth. So basically now if I play this, you can see it's much faster, but it's also much more smooth. So if I change this to 60 frames per second, there's now going to be 60 frames within every second. And you can see it's much more smooth now than 24 because there are more frames in every second. I'm just going to change this back to 24, which is the default. For most animations, usually animations are 24 frames per second. Now, if you've added some keyframes, but you want to edit those keyframes or change them, or maybe you want to change the timing, then you can do that. So let me first show you how to change the timing. So what you can actually do is you can actually just select the keyframe. You can press G to grab in the timeline, and that is going to move the keyframe. So if I wanted this to move up much quicker, I could press G to grab and then move over, and I could place it right here. And now if I play this, you can see it's going to move up much faster. And I could also just select this, press G to grab, and bring it over, and that way it's going to move much faster. And then if you have a keyframe selected, you can press X to delete, and then you can just click on delete keyframes. You can also press the delete key, and then that's going to delete the keyframe. So I'll just delete that, so X to delete, and now if I move through this, you can see that because we deleted that keyframe in the middle, it's just going to go from this keyframe to that keyframe. Now let's say that I want the cube to pause in this location, and I just want to pause for a little while, and then we'll have another keyframe and have it move over. So what I would want to do is I would want to duplicate this keyframe so that it stays right where it is and it doesn't move. So you can just select the keyframe, and then you can press Shift D, and so Shift D will duplicate the keyframe, just how Shift D will duplicate the object in the 3D space. You can press Shift D, and that's going to duplicate the selected keyframe. Now I'm just going to delete this keyframe real quick, and I want to show you another way that you could do this. So you could just simply move over to frame 90 or wherever you want to move it to, and then you could press the I key again, and you could insert location rotation.
Let's see, he wants me to pause? Who? I don't know.
And scale, and you can see now it's just going to stay where it is and it's not going to move. Now you can see that in between these two keyframes there is a little line here, and if you press A to select the keyframes, you can see that that line is orange. So this line here in between these keyframes is basically telling you that the keyframe is exactly the same, and so nothing's going to change because I didn't move the object, I just moved over here and then added another keyframe, and so these two keyframes are exactly the same, and so you can see that the cube is not moving. So now I'm going to move over to maybe frame 110, and I'll press press G to grab, R to rotate, and S to scale. Kind of bring that over there, and then again I'll press I to insert a keyframe, and we want to do location, rotation, and scale. So now you can see that the cube moves, and then it just kind of stays and it pauses, and then it moves
Okay.
over. Now maybe I don't like where this cube is, and so I want to override the keyframe. So I don't want to delete the keyframe, I just want to move it and then replace a keyframe. So basically overlap a keyframe on top of this and replace it. So how you do this is you just change this to whatever you want. So I'm just going to like rotate the cube, move it over, and then just make sure that the timeline is on that keyframe. So it's exactly on that keyframe. I can now press I, and then we're going to insert location, rotation, and scale. And that is going to override the keyframe. So now we just have a new keyframe and it's been replaced. And also the orange line isn't there because these keyframes are both different. Now this workflow of manually adding keyframes by pressing I is a little bit slow. And so there's actually a much faster way to animate in Blender. And that is by using this button right here, the auto keying. So if you turn this button on, you can see now it's blue. And so when this is on, it's going to automatically add a keyframe whenever you transform an object. So let's just move over here. I'm just going to move over here, and then I can press R to rotate, just click to place that. And you can see that because the auto key was on, it automatically added a keyframe there. And I can also just edit this keyframe by maybe scaling it and moving it. And when you transform the object, you can see it's going to tell you that the auto keying is on. And so when I'm doing animation, I use this most of the time because it's much faster and it will just speed up your workflow quite a lot. Because you don't have to press I and then manually insert keyframes. Now I still use this some of the time if I want more manual control, and also I'll sometimes animate these values here if you press the N key, as I talked about earlier in this tutorial. But for most of my animation, I use the auto keying because I can just animate objects and it will automatically place a keyframe right there. Just make sure that you turn it off when you're done animating, because this still happens for me sometimes as well. I'll be animating with the auto key and then I'm finished animating, and so I'll start to go do some other stuff in Blender, kind of set up the scene, and then I'll realize that this entire time it was adding keyframes because the auto key was on. So just make sure you only turn this on right when you're going to start animating, and then once you're done, then just make sure you turn it off. All right, so I've showed you the basics of animating objects in Blender, but there are so many other things you can animate in Blender, because as I talked about earlier in this tutorial, you can animate pretty much any value in Blender. So I'm just going to double tap the A key in the timeline to select all the keyframes, and then I will press X to delete, and I'm just going to delete the keyframes. I'm going to show you just a few different things that you can animate. So let's first go to the shader nodes. So I'm going to click right over here on the shading tab, and we can edit the shader nodes. So I'm now going to click on new here to add a new material. And
all right, so we're just doing that. I mean, I got the grasp of all that. That leaks. Meh. Alright, cube. Now we're going over to shading.
turn it off. All right, so I've showed you the basics of animating objects in Blender, but there are so many other things you can animate in Blender, because as I talked about earlier in this tutorial, you can animate pretty much any value in Blender. So I'm just going to double tap the A key in the timeline to select all the keyframes, and then I will press X to delete, and I'm just going to delete the keyframes. I'm going to show you just a few different things that you can animate. So let's first go to the shader nodes. So I'm going to click right over here on the shading tab, and we can edit the shader nodes. So I'm now going to click on new here to add a new material.
My layout's different from his. So what did you do? I can see other people got confused the same way because his
Click right over here on the
huge spike
shading
in
tab,
one
and we
area.
can edit the shader nodes. So I'm now going to click on new here to add a new material. And
I guess I don't see that. Oh, right here. Okay, I did that.
And let's just go into rendered mode. So I'll just press Z, move my mouse up to go into the rendered view. I'm going to press
See, go to rendered view.
Press Shift A, and I'm going to add a magic texture. You don't have to follow along with this if you don't want to, or you can do whatever you want. I'm just going to add a magic texture. I'll also press Shift A, and I'm going to search here for any
Shift A for a magic texture. So texture. What does a magic texture even do?
mission, and then I want to plug the emission up to the surface.
Wait, hold on. You gonna do a mission?
Shift A, and I'm going to search here for an emission, and then I want to plug the emission up to the surface, and then
Shift A, shift. Hold on. Okay. Shift A. Emission. Thinking that's there?
I want to delete the principled, and then
I'm deleting the principal. Alright.
I'm going to take the color and put that into the color of the emission. So now,
Whoa, wow. Looks really weird. Oh, wow. Look at that.
you can see that we're previewing that magic texture. Now I want to be able to animate this,
It's
so I
fun watching me struggle. You know what? That's another good reason why I can stream this. Anyone who wants to watch me struggle can just do so and admire how incompetent I can be as I try and figure out basic skills that are probably really easy to learn for the other people.
want to add a timeline down here. So I'm going to move my mouse right up here when the crosshair appears, and then I can click and drag down, and that is going to add a timeline. And then I'm also going to click.
Oh, wait, what? Drag down, it's going to add a timeline. Actually, hold on, don't do that. Shift C. Okay, I guess I have to. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Let's do that. Can I flip these? No. Maybe do it like that, so it's easier to replicate what he's doing.
Right here when the crosshair appears here, click and drag out and then let go, and that is going to.
Oh, wait, gosh darn it, go back.
If you don't want to, or you can do whatever you want. I'm just going to add a magic.
Oh, but it's no me that says this. If you would have asked me this a year ago, I would be very confused as well. Yeah, how long have you been using a blender for?
Texture. I'll also press Shift A, and I'm going to search here for an emission, and then I want to plug the emission up to the surface, and then I want to delete the principled, and then I'm going to take the color and put that into the color of the emission. So now you can see that we're previewing that magic texture. Now I want to be able to animate this, so I want to add a timeline down here. So I'm going to move my mouse right up here when the crosshair appears, and then I can click and drag down, and that is going to add a timeline. And then I'm also going to click.
Okay, so do this. And he's doing what now?
Click right here when the crosshair appears here, click and drag out and then let go, and that is going to bring that window out. Now,
Clicking go right there, it's going to drag that window out. Ah, I see.
right now it's the shader editor, so I want to click on this button right here, right next to my head. Click on this button, and we're going to change this to the timeline.
Okay, I see. Now what?
And so I'm going to start by going to frame 1.
Alright, hold on, we're going to expand this up a bit. Go to frame 1. Let's see, what else?
1, and then I want to add a keyframe on the scale value. So as I talked about earlier, you can right click and then just click on insert keyframe. That's going to insert a keyframe on that value, but you can also just hover your mouse over the value and press I, and that is going to insert a keyframe. So you can see right down here,
Okay.
we now have a keyframe on frame 1. Now you may notice something, and that is that there are 2 keyframes, and so this is Blender telling you that there is a keyframe on the cube, but there is also a keyframe on the material. So if you
Okay.
don't see this little thing right here, you can kind of click and drag to pull it out. It might be closed, but you can just click on that arrow and drag it out. And so this is basically going to tell you where
I'm making renders about half a year, but I vaguely remember me downloading Blender, not understanding or not understanding what to do and exiting it. Yeah, that sounds about right. But look at you now, you're a lot better with it than you were before, and I hope that my journey is educational, cuz who knows, maybe someone watching me can learn. I'm sure it's fascinating to watch someone learn Blender in real time, because then you could just watch and see how someone's way of thinking or processing thing works. So I'm going out here, and then I'm going to press I. Just that. I'm not seeing any keyframes added though.
there are keyframes on the different parts of the object. So we have one keyframe here because this is the keyframe on the cube, but then right down here, it's going to tell you that there's a keyframe for the material, and it's also going to show you the shader right here in the node tree because we added that keyframe within the materials here. Real quick, I'm just going to hop back over to the layout. If I click and drag and open this up, you can see that it's right here as well. So if I press I and we're going to insert a location, I can now move over here, press G to grab. We're just going to bring this over, and then I can press I again, and we're going to insert a location. So I've now added just a simple animation of the cube moving. If I open this up, you can see that it's going to tell you what is actually animated. So we have the cube, and then we have the cube transform.
Looking back on my old renders, I really feel like I've grown up and become better. That's good. As long as you can always look back and feel like you've improved, that's a good thing.
Forms, and you can click on this little arrow to open this up, and it's going to show which values are animated.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's why there are sometimes multiple keyframes to tell you where they're animated. So let's go back over here to the shading tab, and let's now animate this. So I'm going to just move.
Should probably do that with my cube as well. Hold on. Layouts. Oh, hold on. Control C. I. Location. So I'm just going to move this. Location. So now if I just do that. If I move this, then. What? Control C. Frames. So, okay, hold on. Press on it. We're at 1. It's not moving over. Then if I do this, push add location. Right, I was supposed to move this first. Gosh darn it. select one. Do this. Then we're going to move this. And then move this. Oh, do that and then move it. Okay. Go back over to the shading. Okay.
The shader nodes. So I'm now going to click on new here to add a new material, and let's just go into rendered mode. So I'll just press Z, move my mouse up to go into the rendered view. I'm going to press Shift A, and I'm going to add a magic texture. You don't have to change this to the timeline. And so I'm going to start by going to frame 1, and then I want to add a keyframe on the scale value. So as I talk
Okay. I think I might have screwed up here with this, but you know, it's fine.
about earlier, you can right click and then just click on insert keyframe. That's going to insert a keyframe on that value, but you can also just hover your mouse over the value and press I, and that is going to insert a keyframe.
I did that.
So you can see right down here, we now have a keyframe on frame 1. Now you may notice something, and that is that there are 2 keyframes, and so this is Blender telling you that there is a keyframe on the cube, but there is also a keyframe on the material. So if you don't see this little thing right here, you can kind of click and drag to pull it out. It might be closed, but you can just click on that arrow and drag it out. And so this is basically going to tell you where there are keyframes on the different parts of the object. So we have one keyframe here because this is the keyframe on the cube, but then right down here, it's going to tell you that there's a keyframe for the material, and it's also going to show you the
Okay, hold on. What? Action, cube action. Okay, there's no difference with it. Okay.
shader right here on the node tree because we added that keyframe within the materials here. Real quick,
Guess we do that. Hold on. So we. It's not adding it.
I'm just going to hop back over to the layout. If I click and drag and open this up, you can see that it's right here as well. So if I press I and we're going to insert a location, I can now move over here, press G to grab. We're just going to bring this over, and then I can press I again, and we're going to insert a location. So I've now added just a simple animation of the cube moving. If I open this up, you can see that it's going to tell you what is actually animated. So we have the cube, and then we have the cube transforms, and you can click on this little arrow to open this up, and it's going to show which values are animated. So that's why there are sometimes multiple keyframes to tell you where they're animated. So let's go back over here to the shading tab, and let's now animate this. So I'm going to just move this over. I'm going to move it over to frame 41, and then I'm going to change the scale. So I'm going to make the scale much smaller. So I'll make it really small. All right, so I've set the scale value to a much smaller value. So I'm now going to hover my mouse over the value, and I'll press I, and that is
Okay, starting here, I got that. Then if I move it over here, then I move this down like he did. I'm gonna press I. Ah, okay, cool. Neat.
That's going to add a keyframe. And you can see that we have the material. So if I move this over, you can see here is the material. So here is the material values, and then here is the object ones. So if I select this and press G to grab, this is going to move around the object's location. And then if I click and select these ones and press G to grab, that is going to change the scale because we have two different values of keyframes. We have the magic texture scale and also the location. So it's going to show the multiple sets of keyframes. All right, so I can now just play through this and you can see that the scale is actually changing. So that is super cool. So almost every value in Blender can be animated. Pretty much all these values can be animated. The strength value and all of that. I'm also going to animate the distortion. So I'm going to go back to frame 1 and I can hover my mouse over this and press I to insert a keyframe there. And then I can move over here. Let's actually move to frame 50.
Okay. Let's go back to frame 1. Kind of like editing special effects for a video editor. So this concept I kind of grasp already as is. Grade 50. And what's he gonna do?
And then I can just turn the distortion up.
Whoa. That is trippy as heck. And just... Bro. It's not showing me all the effects I'm doing with it though, like with this stuff. Oh wait, there it is. Alright.
Up, and then I will hover my mouse over this and press I again to add a keyframe there. So if I now play through this, you can see that that distortion value is being animated. And what's really cool about Blender's animation is that it can also animate colors as well. So I can just unplug this color here. I can unplug the magic texture from the emission, and then let's just select the magic texture and I'll just press X to delete it to make it a bit more simple. So I'm just going to move to frame 1, and then on the color here, I can just make this like a blue color. So I'm going to move it over there to a blue color. And now that I've set that to a blue color, I can just hover my mouse over the value and press I, and that is going to insert a keyframe on that color value.
Okay.
And you can see it has the yellow there because there is a keyframe right on that exact spot. So I can now just move over here, move to the end, and you can see there is a green outline, and the green is telling you that there are keyframes on this value, but it's not on this exact time in the timeline. So now I can just click on this and I'll make it a red color, just like that. And then again, just hover your mouse over the color value and press I, and that is going to insert a keyframe. So if I now play through this, you can see it's actually animating that value. So it starts out as blue, and then it kind of gets purple.
You can animate colors? That's so trippy.
And then it goes to red. All right, so that is how you animate other values in Blender. I'm just going to hop back over to the layout now. So the timeline does have a lot of options that you can use to edit your keyframe.
Let's go back over to the layout like you did.
But if you want even more control over your keyframes and your animation, then you're going to want to use the graph editor in Blender. The graph editor is a new window in Blender, so we need to open it up. So to open it up, I'm going to move my mouse right over here when the crosshair appears, and then I'm going to click and drag and split the window, and now we can just change this to the graph editor.
Okay. Change to graph editor. Oh, this thing. I think I remember seeing this one. I was working with my donuts.
So I'm going to click right up here to change the window type, and under animation, we're going to change it to the graph editor. So the graph editor is a really great way to have more control over your keyframes. So just like down here in the timeline where you can see all the different keyframes, you also have that view right up here in the graph editor. So I'm just going to close this one, and we can work with this one up here in the graph editor. So
okay.
it's It's going to show you the cube, and this is this object, this cube object right here. And then it's going to show you some different things like the material, and you can see that there's the different color values because we animated the color. If I go into the rendered view, you can see that we animated the color, so it's going to show the colors values right there. And if I open up the cube action, you can see that we have the cube transformation. So if you click on the arrow to open it up, we now have the X location, the Y location, and the Z location because I'm animating this cube to move over. Now, if you want to change the size of the graph editor, you can hold down the control key and then click and hold with your mouse wheel. So just control key and then click with your mouse wheel and hold it down, and you can change the size of the graph editor. So I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger, maybe just pull this out so we can see that a little bit better. Now, right up here on the graph editor, the top row right here, that is going to be the timeline. So it's basically going to show you all the frames. So we have all the frames up here, and going back and forth, that's going to change the time. Now, up and down, that is changing the actual values. So I'm just going to select these keyframes right here, and I'll press X to delete, and I want to delete the keyframes. So I'm now just going to move this over to a frame 100, and then I'm going to press G to grab, and let's bring.
So he deleted all those keyframes?
Now, if you want to change the size of the graph editor, you can hold down the control key and then click and hold with your mouse wheel. So just control key and then click with your mouse wheel and hold it down, and you can change the size of the graph editor. So I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger, maybe just pull this out so we can see that a little bit better. Now, right up here on the graph editor, the top row right here, that is going to be the timeline. So it's basically going to show you all the frames. So we have all the frames up here, and going back and forth, that's going to change the time. Now, up and down, that is changing the actual values. So I'm just going to select these keyframes right here, and I'll press X to delete, and I want to delete the keyframes.
Okay. Guess we're getting rid of these now.
So I'm now just going to move this over to a frame 100.
To frame 100. Okay, now what?
And then I'm going to press G to grab, and let's bring this up on the Z axis. And I can also just like rotate this cube over, I'll rotate it over, and then I can press the I key to insert a keyframe, and I want to do the location, rotation, and scale. So
alright, so now we're moving this up. Z axis. Then we're just rotating it. No, let's rotate it on the Z axis again. Just rotate it around. I for the keyframe. Scale, okay. So what am I doing now?
So now that I've done that, you can see that we have these keyframes down here, and then we also have these keyframes up here. So
do we? Okay, get 3 keyframes up there and then keyframes up there, alright.
So all of these little dots right here, those are all of the keyframes.
Okay.
Now, if you want to just edit a specific keyframe, like for instance, let's say I want to edit the location, I can just go right here, go over here to the side panel, and you can see that here is the Z location. So I can just click on that, and whenever you click on these values, it's going to highlight those keyframes. So I'm going to click on the Z location, and you can see that now it's highlighting that. So we have the first keyframe, which is right.
It's just me, or am I not seeing it? Transform. Okay, there we go. Well, they're good. Then there's a Z equation, like you said. Okay.
Right here, and then we have the second keyframe, which is right here, and you can also see those keyframes down here in the timeline. And so at frame 1, the cube starts down here, and then as we move it up, you can see that the cube is moving up. So again, going back and forth is going to change where it is in time, and then up and down, that is going to actually change the value. So you can see it starts at 0, and then it goes up here to about 5. So what's
Okay.
really cool about the graph editor is you can just select keyframes and you can press G to grab and you can move those keyframes around. So if you want to speed up or slow down the animation, you can press G to grab, and then you can click and hold with your mouse wheel and constrain it to the axis going back and forth. And I can just
Okay.
change that, and now you can see that that line there is taking longer to come up. So if I now play this by pressing the space bar to play, you can see that now
Slow
it's
it up.
coming
All
up much
right.
slower, or I can also move it back and you can see that now the cube is coming up much quicker. Now every keyframe has these things right here, and these are handles. Now in the timeline you can't actually change the handles manually, and so that's why the graph editor is so useful, because you can click right here to change the handles. You can just click on these handles and then you can press G to grab, and that is going to move the handle. Now the handles are going to change the shape of the animation. So you can see right here, if I just play this, you can see that the cube starts to speed up, and then as it gets towards the end, it starts to slow back down. But you can actually change the handles, and that is going to change the animation. So if I
Okay.
press G to grab and move this handle, you can see now it kind of gets faster, and then it kind of actually goes back down
Oh.
because I moved that up, and so it actually went up before going back down. Or for instance, if I wanted the cube to come up really fast and stop really quick, I could press G to grab and I could move this handle down, and I could make it much sharper. So you can see now that is much sharper there, unlike this one where it slowly starts to get faster. This one stops immediately, and you can see that if I play that, the cube gets faster and faster, and then right there at the point of the next keyframe, it just stops instantly. So let me just show you an instance where this might be really useful. So I'm just going to delete the cube, and then I'm going to press Shift A, and I'm going to add a monkey head, and then let's also press Shift A, and I'm going to add a cube here, and I'm going to bring the cube over. So I'll just bring it over on the y-axis like this, and then I'm also going to scale the cube up, and I'm going to scale it up on the z-axis, and then I'll also scale it up on the x-axis, just like that. All right, so I'm now going to have the monkey head slam into the wall. So I'm going to select the monkey head right there, and then I'm going to go over, just drag this over to frame 1. So I need to add a keyframe here to tell the monkey head that's where it's going to start. So I'm actually going to turn on the auto key, and that way it'll just automatically add keyframes. So I'm going to just turn on the auto key by clicking on that button, and then to add a keyframe here, I can just press the G key to grab, and then I can just click to place it right there. So I'm not going to move it at all, and you can see that it's added those keyframes right there. So now what I can do is I can move to, let's see here, how fast is this going? I'll move to frame 50, and then with the monkey head selected, I'm going to press G to grab, and I'm going to click and hold with my mouse wheel to constrain it to the y-axis, and I'm just going to stick it right there till it hits the wall, okay, just like that. And because we had the auto key turned on, the auto key feature, it automatically added a keyframe. So now if I go back here, I can play this, and you can see the monkey head just moves, but then it kind of slows down and stops right there at the wall. But let's say the monkey head is moving really fast, and I want it to look like it's slamming into the wall and then stopping really quickly. Well, that is where changing the handles could come into play.
Okay.
So you can see right here, here is the Y location. So what I'm going to do is just select this handle right here, and then I can press G to grab, and I can move this up and make it really sharp, just like we did earlier. So now if I play through this, you can see the monkey head moves faster and faster, and then it just slams into the wall there, that brick wall, and it stops moving. So this is just one very simple example of how the handles can be used to edit the animation. Now you can edit these handles manually, but there also are some handle presets. So if you press A to select everything, that's just going to select all the keyframes. You can also just select them here. And I want to change all of the handle types at once. So if you press the T key, make sure your mouse is either in the timeline or in the graph editor. If you press the T key, that is going to bring up the keyframe interpolation. And this is basically presets for the handle type. So there are a bunch here, and there are some different ones you could play around with. But right here, these are the most common 3 ones that you're going to use. So I'm going to click on the consistent one first, and this consistent one, there's not really going to be any smoothing. It's going to be very, very sharp. So you can see if I play through this, you can see up until the next keyframe, nothing is going to change. So it's going to stay at the exact same point. But then when we go to the second keyframe, it's going to automatically hop to the next keyframe. So that is the first one. That is the consistent one. Now, if you press T again, that is going to bring this up, and I'm going to go to the next one, which is linear. And this one here, this linear one, it's not going to have any smoothing, so it's not going to slowly speed up and then slowly stop. It's just going to go exactly from the first keyframe to the second keyframe. So it looks very robotic. You can just see that the monkey head moves over and then it just stops very quickly. So that is the second one, the linear one. Let's press the T key again. You can press the T key with your mouse over the timeline or over the graph editor. And I'm going to click on this one down here, this last one, which is BZA. So I'll click on the BZA, and this is the one that we were working with earlier. This is the default one in Blender. So you can see that it starts to slowly speed speed up. You can see right here on the monkey head, if I play this, it starts out very slow and then it slowly goes faster and faster. And then because we edited this, it's now going to be really sharp, but I could just bring this down and make it much more smooth. And now you can see that it starts to speed up and then it's at the fastest point right here. It's going down those values on the time, and then it'll slow down and then slowly stop. So this is the most common one you're going to use, the Bezier, because it makes your animations look very nice and smooth. All right, so I'm now going to open up a new Blender file and we're going to create this animation right here. I will walk you through the entire process. We're going to be creating this animation right here of this cube, and we're going to kind of give some life to the cube and make him look around and jumping around. So I'm going to just click on File, and I'm just going to
File,
click on New, and I'm just going to open up a new default Blender file.
All right. File, open up new, general, don't save. All right. Okay.
So just double tap the A key to select everything, and then I'll just press X to delete, and we are just going to delete everything. I'm now going to
double tap the A key. Oh. Delete. Shift A and add a cube. Because nobody likes a default cube. You have to add your own cube.
press Shift A, and we are going to add a cube. I'll press G to grab, and we are going to bring this up on the Z axis, and I'm just going to stick this right here. So I'm now going to press Shift A, and I'm also going to add
Shift A. Grab, bring up bits. That's good enough. Now what are we doing?
a plane, just a ground plane for our cube. Let's press S to scale, and we are going to scale this up just like that. And then
all right, Shift A, add plane, scale it up.
And I can also select this cube. I'll press G to grab. We're going to move it, and I'll just click with my mouse wheel, and I'm going to bring it right over here. So that is
all right. Click at cube X.
where the cube is going to start. And then
What was that noise? I just heard a noise. Oh, we have to GG something. No, we're still streaming. Interesting. Weird. All right.
we will animate the cube. And then in the animation, I also want the cube to like jump up on a platform. So I'm going to press Shift A, and let's add another cube. And I'll just like bring this cube over here. I can scale this one up, and then maybe also I'll scale it up on the Y-axis like that. Maybe bring it down a little bit.
Okay, so we're making it like a platform. All right. Shift A, add cube. Scale it up on like the Y-axis. Maybe a bit on the X-axis. Now we're just gonna move it over. Like a little platform. Okay.
Something like that. I'm also going to select the cube, and I'm going to tab into edit mode, and I'm going to select everything, and I'll just press Control B to add a bevel, and I'm just going to scroll my mouse wheel out so it has a lot of cuts. Click to place that. I can tab back into object mode, and I'll just like bring this cube over here. I can scale this one up, and then maybe also I'll scale it up on the Y-axis like that. Maybe bring it down a little bit. Something like that. I'm also going to select the cube, and I'm going to tab into edit mode, and
okay, so cube, tab, let's bring it down a bit more. Okay, tab in edit mode.
I'm going to select everything, and I'll just press Control B to add a bevel, and I'm just going to scroll my mouse wheel out so it has a lot of cuts. Click to place that. I can tab back into object mode.
Okay. Control B. Or B. I don't know. Bevel. Here, just Control. Wait, what did he do? Yeah, what did he do? Hold on.
Something like that. I'm also going to select the
All right. Well, you have good luck and a wonderful day, buddy. All right. Thank you. I hope you have a good day too. Bye bye.
cube, and I'm going to tab into edit mode, and I'm going to select everything, and I'll just press Control B to add a bevel, and I'm just going to
Select everything. Control B. It's not let me scroll, but I can do that. So all right.
scroll my mouse wheel out so it has a lot of cuts. Click to place that. I can tab back into object mode.
All right.
And using the object context menu, I can just shade that.
Shade smooth. All right. All right. I gotta stretch. Oh god. Oh, okay. We're stretching. All right.
That cube smooth. All right, so I'm now ready to animate. So I'm going to select the cube. Let's make the timeline a little bit bigger. All right, so with the cube,
Make timeline a little bit bigger. Yeah. What? We're gonna zoom out so we have a good view of the scene. Yeah.
selected, I'm going to click on this button to turn on the auto key.
We're gonna go button on okay. Habada.
And so I first just want
Hello, Yash Wanth. P.S. Thank you for dropping by. Hope you're having a good day. Thank you for visiting.
to place a keyframe right here.
Okay.
So I'm going to press G to grab and then just click to place it, and you can
G to grab and click to place it. Alright, it's got a keyframe. Alright, so now what?
see it's added a keyframe right there. So I can now play the timeline by pressing the space bar, and I just want the cube to kind of stay where it is for just a short while. So I'm now going to press G to grab and then just click again to place another keyframe right there.
Okay. Space bar. Oh, it's moving a little too fast. No, it's fine. We'll just back a bit. Hit G, then place it again. It's copy the keyframe. Alright, so now what?
Alright, so I am now going to press
Use manual first. Manual? Manual what?
press 1 on the numpad, and that is going to go to the side view.
Wait, what did he just say?
And then just click to place it, and you can see it's added a keyframe right there. So I can now play the timeline by pressing the space bar, and I just want the cube to kind of stay where it is for just a short while. So I'm now going to press G to grab and then just click again to place another keyframe right there. All right, so I am now going to press 1 on the numpad, and that is
Oh, one on a numpad. Alright. One on. Oh, cool.
going to go to the side view. So I can go on side view and just animate the cube jumping. So I'm just going to move over maybe about 5 frames, and then I can press G to grab and R to rotate. Let's just bring that over.
Let's go over 5 frames. Press G to grab. Oops. No. Put G to grab. R to rotate.
And then let's move over another 5 frames or so, and then I'll press G to grab and R to rotate, and we're going to bring that right down there.
Okay. Another 5 frames. G to grab. No, let's do. No, let's do that. Oops. R to rotate. And then.
So just put it right down there on the ground plane. Bring that down a little bit more. All right, so
Let's bring that up just a little bit. Okay.
I can press 1 on the numpad again to go to the front view, and we can just see how that's looking. So there you go.
Okay. Push one notepad. See how it looks. It looks so derpy. Oh, that looks so silly.
Go, you can see now the cube jumps. So if you want to edit anything, you can do that. So you can see that the cube goes way too far over and then just kind of goes much more straight down. So I'm going to go back to frame 25 and I'll press G to grab and I'll move that back a little bit. And because we have the auto key on, it's automatically going to override the keyframe, and that is looking much better. And then also the cube would probably fall down a little bit faster. So I'm going to select this last keyframe down here and I'll press G to grab and I'm going to move it over so it falls a little bit faster.
Okay.
So we'll
So I can grab the individual keyframe to move it over a bit. Oh, yeah, that looks way better. All right.
just come up and then come down just slightly faster, just by like 1 frame or so. So if we play that, that's looking pretty cool. The cube kind
Yeah, okay, nice. Now what?
of jumps, but it doesn't look very realistic because the cube would probably slide a little bit on the ground. So I'm going to move over just a few frames, maybe to frame 35 or so, and then I'll press G to grab, and I'm going to bring this over on the x-axis. So now if I go back,
Okay. Frame 35. Grab the cube and move it over to on the x-axis a bit. Then we just play that back. Oh my god, that animated. Looks, yeah, it looks so good.
go back here and play this, you can see the cube jumps and then the cube just slides a little bit. And I think I'll select this keyframe and move it over just a little. So now the cube jumps and then the cube slides. So that just makes it a little bit more realistic.
Yeah.
And it adds a nice touch to the animation. All right, so now I want to duplicate this keyframe because I want the cube to just stay exactly where he is. So I'm going to press Shift D, bring the keyframe out and just place it right there. So then it just stays.
Okay. Click on this keyframe. Press Shift D. Oh, yeah, I can see the value and bring it to you as well. Nice. 40. Okay, nice.
Where it is for just a moment. All right, so I now just want to move over and I want to have the cube kind of look around. So I'm just going to move over to maybe frame 55. I can press R to rotate, and we're going to rotate this on the Z axis and just rotate that over. So now the cube is kind of looking over. Maybe I'll move that a little bit farther to maybe frame 60. The cube kind of looks over. And then I want to duplicate this again and just have the cube stay where it is. So I'll press Shift D to duplicate. We're going to bring that over. So now the cube just kind of looks over and he just stays right there. All right.
All right. We're going to go to frame 60. R, rotate X, no, the Z axis, no. Oh, rotate on the Z axis. Rotate on the Z axis. Have a look over that way. Shift D to duplicate that. Shift. I'm pressing Control E. Stay there, just looking that way, thinking about what it's doing if it's live, contemplating how I got there, wondering where it's going.
Now I want the cube to look over, kind of over to here. So I'll move over to maybe frame 85 and I can just rotate this again. So press R to rotate. I can rotate this over on the Z axis and bring that over.
And it's like, okay, I'm bored of that, looking in that direction. I think I've seen all there is to see in that way in life. Now I'm going to look over here and be like, whoa, that's incredible what's going on over there.
And you can really see the power of the auto key because it's just adding keyframes, and so I don't have to manually add them. It's automatically adding them every time I move the cube. All right, that's good. So we now move that over. Now, if I press 1 to go to front view, the cube isn't
Press 1 to go to one view. Oops, press 1 to go to one view. Okay.
going to move exactly forward or exactly sideways. He's going to move over like this. So what I'm going to do is press 5 on the numpad, and that is going to take me to the orthographic perspective. And that way,
Orthographic perspective? What? I've never heard that term before.
we're not going to be able to see as much perspective, and it's going to be much more flat.
Oh, wow, that looks awful.
And then I can also just move my view, and I'm going to move my view until I can see exactly the side of the cube, just like
I'm going to move my view until I see exactly the side of the cube. Okay, now what?
that. All right, now I want to select this keyframe again, and I'll press Shift D to duplicate it, maybe bring it over to frame 90. So now,
Yeah, we should okay, we name 90. Shift D, and we're gonna bring it over to. Oh wait, no, I don't. I just want that one. I can duplicate multiple keyframes at the same time. That's pretty cool.
now the cube kind of just stays where he is. Maybe move that over to maybe frame
95. Maybe move it over to frame 95. Okay, now what?
95. Let's go right over here. And now I'm going to have the cube jump again over here. So I'll press G to grab, move it up, and R to rotate. Just stick it up.
Okay, frame 100. G to grab. R to rotate.
Up there. And then when he moves, there we go, the cube is now jumping. Let's maybe rotate that over a little bit more. All right, and then I'm going to move over to maybe 106, and I'll rotate that over and bring it down. And you can just press period on the numpad to zoom over to the cube and just stick it right there. So it's just going onto the ground there. Maybe rotate.
Okay, now we're just gonna go over like 106 for instead of 105, like some savage. Not keeping it even. Just gonna land. Just then rotate it, so it just let's do that. Raise it up a bit on the z-axis, so it just lands perfect on there like that.
Rotate that over, stick it into place right there. All right, so let's press 5 on the numpad. That'll take us out of the orthographic view.
Oh, thank God. Push 5 goes out of this hellscape. Rewind a bit and just go like, ooh, what's over there? Yup.
And let's see how that's looking. So again, it kind of looks like I made the cube go too far forward. So I'm going to just go back here to this.
Did we really? Or did you make it look like went too far forward? I don't know about you, but I think it looks just fine. Like, okay, yeah, maybe. No, wait, hold on. So what's he doing?
Perspective. Let's press 5 again on the numpad to go to the orthographic view and see how that's looking. So yeah, the cube kind of goes a little bit too far forward. So I'm going to go back to frame 100 where this keyframe is, and I can just press G to grab and move that back a little bit. So now that's looking much better. And then also
Okay. Press 5 on the numpad. Go back to this keyframe. Oh, I guess do that as well. Let's see how's it looking. What? Yeah, so we're gonna want to do that. Then we're gonna grab, move it on this, on the x-axis, and bring it back a bit. Now let's look at that. maybe grab that. Bring it back over as well, like that. Oh, whoops. Control C. I had to do that on that one. So, like, hold on. Go in there, and then. Oh, okay. I'm using the wrong keyframe. Here, move it back a bit, like this. Okay, that looks better. Maybe just a bit more. Yeah, good enough. All right, now what?
So at the end here, he's probably going to fall just a little bit faster than how much he comes up. So I'll just press G to grab, and we're just going to stick that there. And there we go. So he lands. Now, if you look at that from the perspective, I'm just going to press 5 on the numpad to go back to the perspective view. So if I now just play through this.
Perspective view. All right, now what?
You can see that something looks a little bit off. He kind of just stops immediately, and it would make sense that the cube would just slide a little bit because he has all that momentum.
Yeah, all that momentum just with that god amazing front flip. Like, it was just so epic. This was like, he cannot be contained. Just gonna grab him and just. Why? No. Stop. God bless America. How am I gonna... He's facing this way, so how am I gonna...
So I'm just going to go to frame 110, and I can press 7 on the numpad to go to the front view. I can now press G to grab, and I'm just going to bring this over just a little.
okay. 7 on the numpad. Grab G and just move it over slightly. Let's watch from a top-down perspective how that looks. Wait, what? I messed up somewhere. You know what? I don't care. I don't know how to fix it to go back to no, we're living with it.
There, and then you can see now if I play this, the cube just kind of slides over, so the cube jumps and then just kind of slides at the very end there, and it just makes it look a bit more natural and realistic. All right, that's really good. So I'm now just going to select this keyframe right here, and I'll press.
I think I've got a grasp of it now. Now the trick is to do with all the models that I've made. Okay, so I don't know. Hold on, let's see. Maybe he's got other tutorials on like how to animate models rather than just a cube. Just like I'm tempted to look at this, but I'm also hesitant because the freaking thumbnail is Alstofo or some anime girl. And this makes me wary. What is all this? I get the thumbnails, but like for me, it's just over. It's just You know, I need to use the restroom first. You know what was it? I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I'm going to the bathroom real quick. All right, can't get off. Come on. I must get up, please and thank you. Okay. To the bathroom away. I go. That there. This here. Sit down over here. Alright, come back. Alright. The cube has to go. Say goodbye to the cube. Wah! Ah! Okay, now we're gonna go here. Launch this. Go here, open that. Oh boy. I'm really gonna try this. I'm really gonna do this. Okay, so I also need to position you in a better spots. With object mode. Here becomes the cat getting back on my lap. Scoot over so I can see what I'm doing. So when I'm like at the edge of the thing, rotate on the Z-axis so he's like shh. Wait, move up a bit. Alright. I learned a little bit about Blender and how to animate. Now I gotta work on animating the scene I want. It's gonna be freaking stupid too. Let's see.
You're JK. Legendary racer. Except you couldn't even handle a few standard
Let's just check this out too.
Those things were trying to run me off the road.
Oh my god, it's an anime about cars. Ooh, wow, so exciting. A literal Toyota's. If that was made and paid for by Toya, I'm just like, why? What are they doing with their money?
Are you interested in learning 3D animation but maybe don't know where to start? Hi, I'm Crash and I've been animating for almost 10 years now in software like Blender, Source Filmmaker, and Maya. In this video, we're going to talk
Maya,
about
what the
the
hell's
best
Maya?
3D animation software to use as a beginner, why now is the best time to start learning 3D
Now?
animation, if college or a degree is required to become a professional 3D animator, and a lot more.
Just vice this all. Timeline, dope sheet, the graph editor, animation modifiers, importing and posing. Lots of nonsense. I don't know, maybe I don't know. Just the voice is just I don't like the voice. I don't know. It's just something about it is just like off-putting for me. Okay, so oh yeah, hold up. Let's see. Right now, let's just do that. No. I want vertical, not horizontal. I'm gonna change this to a rendered view mode. I kind of want to position the sun in a way where it's praise the sun. Also, I don't like the way the body of the Roy Knot is. Colors just he looks too saturated, whereas the other whereas the trap pinch is kind of just popping out. Then again, they have like different skin textures, so I guess that would make sense. Like I'm assuming a walnut's body is more like it's more rubbery. I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's more soft rather than the hard shell of the bug type. So maybe that's an appropriate look for it, but I don't know. We're gonna do this and just go zoom close up on those eyes. What I want to do is I want to have the sun positioned in a way where it looks like it's where is the sun? Do my best to move it directly behind them. You know, that doesn't actually do anything. It's just for peace of mind for how I do this. Okay, and then we need to rotate the angle. Maybe now that there's also more things. Hold on, let's see. I wish there's like a visual representation of constant direction parallel light source. So what if I? Oh, there we go. So I can rotate it. So I want. Okay, good. Go to the sun. And then we're gonna rotate it. I want to rotate it on the z-axis. No. The y-axis. No. The z-axis. Kinda. Hold on. Do that. So we're gonna rotate it again, but now on the y-axis. Basically want this pointing at them. Go to the camera view. Okay. Now it's all dark. It's changing the angle from where it's almost up the number about just like 100. So now there's two of them. It's getting out of hand. Now there's two of them. Ooh, I like the texture. But wait, it's popping up from the sand. Muchas gracias. Hold on. Well, let's change the render real quick. It's hard to see what the light is doing. Diffuse. Okay, 0, angle 0. Volume? What's that? I don't know what that does. No? Specular. No. Diffuse, alright. Well, okay, well, it definitely has to be in the other engine, because otherwise it's not going to look right. Which means I have to deal with... It's fine. Maybe introducing another light source would work. Or maybe changing the type of light source that I'm using. It's like, So not right? No, I just want like the shadow that okay, the reason it looks weird right now because the way the Why Not's shadow is getting cast is not normal. It wouldn't be just a straight freaking God bless America. It wouldn't just cast a straight perfect line like this. And maybe the face is being shaded right, but it doesn't look right. At least I don't know. I'm not a light expert. Okay, it's fine. The lighting would be difficult. We change it to a point. Spot. Oh. I guess the spot would be better. What about an area? Spot. Area. Oh, I like that way more. All the way to an even 1000. See, now the shadow looks right. There we go. That actually looks nice. But now I need to be able to animate the eyes. Hold on. So there was a video I had saved for that, just in case. Hold on. Go away. Later. I gotta watch all that. This.
Oh, no. Try my Old Spice. You can use it on your pit's chest.
What happened to you, man? You used to be a cool actor.
Hey everyone, welcome back. This tutorial is going to go over how to animate textures. I'll go over some methods I've used and some I've seen used in different games. First method is a simple mix node. It's one of the easiest to set up for animation and probably my favorite. We'll use Gulliver's Eyes from Animal Crossing. You have your basic material with a normal painted on eye texture. Shift A to add a new image texture, and you can paint a new eye texture. Add a mix node. Connect the second image texture. Now, this slider will change what texture is being used. You can keyframe this factor slider by hovering your mouse over it and clicking I.
Oh dear.
If you only have 2 textures, you can stop here and it's perfect. But if you have more, you can continue down the line doing this as many times as you want for as many different poses. You can make a material like this that controls both eyes at the same time, however you want. The next method is something I've seen used in some of the new Pokemon games. Instead of many small textures, they have one large one with many alternate eye poses. In Blender, we can use a texture setup like this one by keyframing the location of our mapping node to slide the UV islands around. This is a pretty standard material setup. By default, we're at 0, 0, which is the upper left eye texture. By typing 0.25 into the Y location, it'll change to the bottom left texture, which seems odd at first, but because these textures are tiled, 0.25 just moves it up off the screen 25% of the way, so the UV wraps back around to the bottom. So then you just use this mapping node to switch through your options. Pretty simple. I still prefer method 1 to this as far as simplicity for keyframing. Here's another method I've seen used. Select your eye islands, Shift D to duplicate. Drag them forward on the Y axis slightly, P to separate by selection. Select this new object and make a new eye material. It's important to use a texture with an alpha background. And then you just set up your UVs. And you can either set up this eye material like the first example or duplicate this eye object. And you have one stagnant pose on each object. And then you can just keyframe the object's render visibility. Not everything in Blender is keyframeable, but almost everything is. I haven't found an easy way to use this method in Blender, but perhaps it'll be advantageous in some situations. I've seen it used in some of the Smash Bros games. These methods will work for animating literally anything. Hope this helps you all out in some way.
This
Thank
did
you
not
for
help.
watching. Let me know if anything is
But it
confusing.
was worth a shot.
Subscribe. I love you. Bye.
It's fine. You know what? It's fine. Hey, I can figure it out on my own. It's fine. So first, we're going to want to start with the eyes. Trap it closed. Let's go to trap bench. The most precious of boys. I guess we're going to want it where his eyes are shut, so we're going to go to the left eye. Left arterial. Okay, just give me a minute. Hold on, I need to do something. Jesus Christ. Really shouldn't be having to do this, but I am. Oh my god, come on. Alright, whatever, it's fine. Okay, resuming what I was doing. Alright. How do I do this again? Split. So we need to go to the. Hold on. UV editor, right? No, shade editor. Hold on, let's change this to the UV editor so I can see what I'm doing. Wait, hold on, let me swap these because this is backwards. Oh, right, I have to select the texture. Hold on. Eyes. There we go. Let's try and animate something like him having his eyes shut and then opening them or something. It's for the left eye, right? So wait, X is for going left and right, Y is for going up and down. Right. X going left and right. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, Y is going. So we need full negative 1. No. Okay. For negative 0.25. Yeah, you're blocking my keyboard. So point negative 50. So again. Okay. Or negative 0.5. Okay, interesting. So that's just for the left eye, right? Yeah, the right still, but the camera is only going to be seeing one side. Maybe, yeah, it's fine. Just keep it simple. Okay, so, what would I add? What kind of visual? What kind of keyframe would I use? Okay, so I have no idea what kind of keyframe I would use for the eyes. We're trying to learn something. Wishing you good luck, Mike. Keep going. Oh, thank you, Radovan Sklenik. Thank you for dropping by. Okay, let's see. What was I doing right? Add a keyframe, iframe. I guess location, rotation, scale. Maybe? Worst case scenario, I just undo this. Actually, hold on, no. Cat is blocking me from using my keyboard. He's positioned just the right way where I can't reach the keys that I want. Bang, Kobadong, Bikini Tutorial. Okay. Words. Hold on. Control Z, undo that. Let's save our. No, let's just hit a save right now, just in case. Then we add iframe. Then maybe 10 frames in, we go here, and then I have it to where he's like opening his eye. No, it need to be other one. So point negative 5. Point negative 5. Why is it not? We have to do the negative first. Oh, it's 0.2. So wait. Point negative 0.25. Okay. Now we had a keyframe there, right? Oh yeah, I could just do it with the keyframes in general, right? Or am I doing it wrong? Can't I? Fine, I'll give you some pets. While I try and figure out what it is that I'm doing. Okay, yeah, I'm moving my keyboard then. If you're not gonna move. Stubborn rat. I? Button doesn't appear to have any property numbers. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's do that. See what happens. Nothing happens. Alright, so hold on. Let's Control Z, 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 Z. Let's start here. Okay, delete that keyframe. No. Start in frame 1. I could do this here. That there. Then we're gonna go forward by like 10 frames. See if that's not too much. And then move this to negative 0.25. That there. Okay, it does work, but you could see the blur of it moving. So I need it to snap to that frame rather than blur itself. I don't know how to do that. Maybe I change the type of or maybe I move it back a bit. So why am I not seeing the keyframes? Why am I not seeing the keyframes that I'm making? I might. How am I? It does that. I does that. I need to go back to the tutorial and see what was that thing he was talking about. I obviously am forgetting something and I need to know. So but that wasn't it. No, it was. All right.
You now live in a world where you never run out of milk. DoorDash.
Our Wi-Fi works in every room, even the basement. Creepy down there, but true.
7 on the numpad to go to the front view. I can now press the 3 ones that you're going to use. So I'm going to click on the consistent one first.
Graph editor,
and this consistent one, there's not in there now. So the timeline does have a lot of options that you can use to edit your keyframes. But if you want even more control over your keyframes and your animation, then you're going to want to use the graph editor in Blender. So the graph editor is a new window in Blender, so we need to open it up. So to open it up, I'm going to move my mouse right over here when the crosshair appears, and then I'm going to click and drag and split the window, and now we can just change this to the graph editor. So I'm going to click right up here.
Ah, I see. All right. So maybe change this one to the graph editor. but I'm not seeing the nodes that I've been making. Still. Yeah, well, so what? Why are they not showing up? Okay. Jesus. No, it does that. Oh wait. Oh. Interesting. So it's doing it the way I want now, but hold on. I mean, obviously I can't. Okay, now that I'm thinking about how I want the eye to open, or look like it's opening, now that I realize I can't do that, I don't know how. You know, let's just... Alright, calm down. Alright. Obviously, we are not ready to do that. So we're going to have to simplify what I want to do. So you know what? It's fine. Just gonna... See a bunch. Controlling Z until I get to where I want. You know, just put that 0. Leave that alone. We're gonna close this. Nobody said this would be easy, and no one said it was going to work the way I wanted it to. Okay. So I'm a little embarrassed about doing this because it's like I'm trying to show what I'm doing in the process and I look stupid for doing it. Or I feel like I'm looking stupid, but you know, it's fine. Let's go pose mode. So vertical is, yeah. So look at that. Maybe while we're doing the animation, we'll just... really trying to jump straight into animating, aren't I? What else am I going to do? I can make all these renders all I want, but if I can't do anything, well, then what's the point? Render, hold on. Render engine. There we go. Right there. So I can do that. I can render the animation in the simpler engine so that way it's not such a pain. In which case I don't need to worry about how the light looks. At least right now. So you know what? Alright. Jesus. Is there a way to make it where it doesn't just completely unhinge his jaw? Alright, okay, so let's do that. Make it where it's closed. Then we're gonna insert the keyframe there. So what I do, I guess location, I'm not changing the size, so I would just need to do location and rotation. So I think that's how I want to do it. Oh, God, stretch. Yeah. So, iframe. Rotation. Now gonna move the frame 10. We hit I again. Not suitable context for activating. What? Okay. Control C. How about now? Okay. Right. Go back and just doing it where it was before. So. R. And go. Control C. Fine. This is probably the most inefficient way to do this, but you know what? I'm very paranoid about using auto keyframing. Hey. Okay, it's a little too slow, so you know what? No. Let's move these together real closer together so they move faster. Because I want to replicate the jaw moving away like they're talking. Hey. Oh, I feel so dumb for doing this, but you know what? The end product is going to be worth it, hopefully. It's gonna be such a stupid joke. It's gonna be so freaking short. But you know what? Maybe when I get to the point where I'm better at this, I can just remaster and be like, first Blender animation remastered or something like that. Who cares? You know what? Humble beginnings. I gotta start somewhere. Wait, so your arms, buddy. What going off your arms? Why am I not able to? Let's go to object mode. Do that. Go into pose mode. Also, wait, did I? Oh, right. Hold on. There might be a way to fix this. Hold on. Do that. Unselect these. Oh, go to pose mode. I just realized I rotated the model, but I didn't rotate the frame with it. Oh, God. So now every part of it is facing the wrong way. Go to pose mode. Hold on. Maybe we can fix this. Pose, clear transform, all. No. Okay, I think I've thoroughly screwed myself over. Oh, God. Maybe I just need... No, maybe if I just... Nope, I've completely disjointed it somehow. Maybe I can fix this. What if I rotate it now? Okay. Just need to see. Maybe just a bit more. I've royally scuffed this up. Like a well and true goober. You know, it's fine. Now, if I want to rotate, see. Rotate on the z-axis so it's facing towards the trapinch. Okay, yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine. If we go to pose mode, because his arms should... he shouldn't be T-posing for dominance by default. He needs to be resting. Wait, what does Walnut's arms look like when they're resting? Hold on. Why not? Okay, so they're kind of like... Hold on. Let's see. They kind of just flop it off to the side and curved at the end of it. Alright. They're like hands. Alright. So I need them down like that. Then the little nubbin at the end needs to be like this. Yeah, like that. Alright. Let's rotate down. Yeah, like that. That looks alright. I really should put a plane in the area. But it's not going to matter because... Also, how can I... Am I able to animate the mouth? I mean, kinda. Let's see, hold on. Let's see. R... Okay, X... Z-axis is not the one I want. But Y? No. Or X? X. But does why not ever actually close their mouth? Or are they just physically incapable of doing so? That looks really cute. Oh, thank you. I'm trying to make like a silly little animation for a joke that is really dumb, but I want to do it because I think it's funny. Does why not ever actually close their mouth? Now I gotta check that. Hold on. Do that. Yeah, they can close their mouth. They are capable of having their mouth closed. This one doesn't look right. They just have a smooth bottom, so... No, they do. It's like right there in the anime. So yeah, they are capable of having their mouths closed. Alright. This doesn't look right. This is the mouth is one single bone. And I'm sure if I wanted to, I could animate or fix that, but I'm not going to for the sake of this. Ugh, it's fine. Hold on, let's see. I mean, that looks all right, I guess. But you know what? I'll worry about animating the why not later. Right now, we just gotta focus on Tramp Bitch. Come on. Focus. Okay, I do that. Go to you. Then go to pose mode. Where are my keyframes? Okay, you know what? Let's splits. Change this to the graph editor. Why do my keyframes keep disappearing? I'd very much like to be able to see what I'm doing. Thank you very much. Ugh. So now that I'm thinking about it, the way I'm editing, and I'm trying to think of how I do the scene. I could probably just be really lazy. No, come on, we could do this. Why am I not seeing my keyframes? They seem to have vanished, which is really annoying me. Oh, there we go, right there. So you can be like, hey. No. Hold on, we'll have it where he's just resting for a bit. And we'll have he's just resting for a bit, and then we'll go to do that, and then is it Z-axis? No. It's the X-axis. X is the one I want. I want a good angle of this. Hold on. I need to keep in mind when I do start the rotation that my mouse needs to be in a good spot for it. If I'm too close to it, it's not gonna work right. There we go, nice. Want does John need to... I'm trying to think, but does John need to close every time you go? Probably not. Want maybe we do try the auto thing. Oh, hang on. Okay, no. Open, and then this needs close back again. 40 degrees, alright. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I can keep the animation. Hey. Yeah, because I'm gonna be okay, that work makes more sense in my mind. How am I gonna oh wait, no, but you know, it's fine. I'll figure it out as I go. I got plenty of time. So let's see, just frame one. 8. Okay. Every like 5 frames, which is fine. All right. Okay. Let's see. Oh wait, what if we? What's 35 angles? Oh, I just keep it like 10 degrees consistently. All right, that works. RX. I'm going the wrong way. I keep turning it the wrong way. It's fine. Just put it back up by another 40. Keep doing that when I don't mean to. But you know, it's fine. I'm probably doing this in the most horribly inefficient way, but you know what? I don't care. Gotta do that a few more times. I could probably... hold on. I shift D. Does that work? Okay, hold on. Control Z. Shift D. Oh, that's way easier than doing it manually every single time. Let's maybe close them a bit. Make them a bit closer to each other. No, 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 no. No, no, no. Control C. Actually, no, hang on. What if I just do that, and then it's just like... What? Right, 1, 2. And then R... X. Close the jaw. The mouth again. All right. Okay, then I just duplicate the. Nope. Duplicate those. Shift D. Shift D. That's a bit too fast. Well, hold on, let me think. These this frames, right? What I just do? Number key. Okay, right. This will be harder than I thought. But you know what? It's fun. I'm determined to do this. Stretch. Oh god, stretch. Oh god. Rubbing my eyes. Hold on. You shouldn't rub your eyes, but I also can't help it. We're gonna get there. I feel sympathy for anyone who has to animate now. I'm sure, well, what I'm doing is very simple. Can't imagine if people do something that's way more complex, like in movies or shows. I have a newfound respect for them. You know, it's fine. What? So it's 2 frames apart from each other. Let's try 3 frames apart from each other. Okay, then we're just gonna. Shift D. 33, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yeah. Shift D. Shift D. 40, 39. Oh, wait, no, hold on. Hold on. Let's see. Control C. Two. It's 39, 41, 42. 2. Shift D. Ah, that's way easier to do it. All right. 5, 6, 8. Shift D. Okay, maybe 3 frames too much. I'm trying to find a sweet middle ground because 5 was too slow. 4, 3, 2, and 3 are too fast. Maybe 4 is the sweet spot. Is this gonna be a short? I'm thinking about it. I'm actually close to being done. So we're gonna need to get rid of all these. 31. 34. Shift D. So 31, 34, so it'd be 38. 40, 40, 42, 42, so 46. Oh, that's perfect. That's the perfect speed, I think. All right. Four frames apart. All right. I'm sure I could also just editing it up in the graph editor, but I also don't need to. So I was just trying to get this work right. So it's fine. Oh God! Come on, sorry, stretch. All right. In my mod. Okay. Perfect. Okay. 54. 50. 62. Wait, hold on. Slow down a bit in my head. But his jaw needs to be ending on a close. So 66, 70. All right. Oh yeah, that works. All right. We're getting there. Oh, but now we gotta animate you. We're also gonna need to change your eyes. So I'm just gonna object mode. Actually, no. We're gonna go to pose mode. Actually, hold on. What are my options for eyes? I don't need this. So we're gonna go back to the UV editor. Just gonna get the eyes. Going to edit mode. We're just gonna see. It's really my only eye options. Just when you had more facial expressions than that for the eyes. You know, it's fine. It's fine. mode. This is hard work. Exhausting. Hold on. What is it that I want to do? I'm trying to think of what I want to do. Join these. Oh, I was going to check and see if those squinty arrows are the only facial they have. Oh, yeah, that's literally all they got. All right. Yeah, there's that, but it's like, I guess it could be custom ones, but eh. Oh, if they're pointing up and then like that. Okay. Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. We're getting there. We're getting there. So let's go to that. Oh, right, hold on. Let's see. Let's do that. Go to this. Oh, now I see why it looks weird. So it would be shadows cast onto it, but it'd still be like regular lighting. Okay, never mind. That works. Go to view for the camera. Looks really. How many frames is it moving at? Oh, I haven't even begun to edit the render animation. Oh god. It's fine. We will get there eventually. Just gotta have patience. It's really choppy. That's really choppy. Sorry, hold on. What about the? Oh, I gotta change the output, right? It's 20 frames per second. Change it to 30. Did that change anything? Interesting. Hold on. I'm gonna have to. Do that. It's really blurry too whenever it moves. There's no easy way to render the animation either. Oh god. You know what? It's fine. Figure this out. One step at a time. Let's just worry about animating it first. Then we'll worry about rendering it later. we're just gonna join areas. You know, let's just change it back to. Where is the engine? Go to Eevee. Show these areas. Worry about that later. All right. Ah, please. Have mercy on my soul. Go into pose mode. Okay. Well, hold on. Okay, yeah, that's right. All right. That's more candy. Okay, I'm apart by 4 frames, right? Let's have a rest for like 8 frames. Shouldn't this be the same one as this one? Oh, it's slightly off. That's why. Hold on. Control C. You know, hold on. Let's just delete that. All right, and then we'll just do that. Duplicate that one. Shifty. All right. Just resting. Okay. Continue back. I'm for my PC now, meaning I'm home. Oh, cool. Hope you had a good trip. Just in the middle of trying to animate stuff right now. Oh, it's very time consuming. Stretch. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm figuring it out. Okay. Ah. Looks for okay. Okay. These should be the same. So hold on. Let's see. Shifty. That there. That's fine. All right. Oh, now I gotta keep track of. Just focus on animating him for right now. Okay. How long have I been at this for? 2 hours. Yeah, that seems alright. Alright. Okay. Starting to. I don't know why I had I started sick. Right? It's fine. hang on. Let's see. Show me the graph editor. I want to be able to keep that in view. Will I work on the other one? No, that's not what it's. Oh, I could make a channel. No, I don't know. How's it going? It's going all right. Just trying to figure out how I'm gonna animate the two of them together. Yeah, it's fun. I'll figure it out. Made it this far. Let's go to pose mode. Okay, my legs can stretch out now. All right. Okay. Mouth. I guess I could hop between these two like this. No, I cannot. So how am I gonna keep it? Let's see. Yeah. Show markers. Hmm. How am I gonna do this? Oh, okay. Let's see. I want to show the timeline of what this is. Hold on. Maybe if I just do that, like this, better timeline. Hold on, I can figure this out. Hold on. Go back to that. Yeah, because I want to keep this. Here for a couple moments, and I'm leaving right about now. So yeah, good luck. All right, thank you. Have a good day. Hope good luck with whatever you're doing. Let's see. How do I keep this here? Now, hold on, I'm trying to keep this. Reset viewable area to show selected channels. Protect channels. Enable specify settings on animation channels. Editability, no. Exploitation. Extraploitation. What? I don't know what this means. Live shares, commercial shares. Because I want to keep this one. If I do this, it's just gonna. I want to like have two different channels for two different models at the same time, so I can see where they are in relation on the timeline. So I can animate them around each other. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I could do it a different way. Right, you know what? I'm going to do it that way. Hold on. Yeah, you know what? I think I'll do it that way. All right. You know what? This is fine. Then do that. Plus, it'll probably be easier to render it that way. Here comes the cat. He's coming back. Okay. Well, it could be. Oh yeah, I could be listening to some music right now if I really wanted. Yeah, I guess I could do that. But I'll have to mute the channel thing first. So, yeah, we're gonna do that. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Let's do this. And the cat's blocking my keyboard again. Alright. Cat, come on. You gonna lie down, buddy? Or you just gonna stay sitting up? Or is the cord in your way? Just waiting for my cat to sit down so I can work on typing. Or using the keyboard since I can't when he's standing up. Come on, buddy, sit down. Alright. Okay, I'm gonna copy these. Shift D. I need to move thing first. 78, so it's 82. Six. Also, why is my headset doing this? I want to extend this frame a bit, actually. Actually, hang on, no. We do full 10 frames. We do 45. Maybe do 50. You gonna sit down, buddy? You do not make working. You do not make work. You do not make working easy. You settle down? Okay, good. Yeah, I'm just gonna move the keyboard off to my side. That's gonna hurt. So you know what? Hang on. All right. Comfortable. All right. All right. So then. For just close the mouth. Okay, go to beginning. I need it open way longer than that. Maybe 125. That's pretty good. I like that. Yeah. 35. Then go to 129. 50. Should we just do a manual one? Hold on. Control C. Shift D. It's 29, right? Yeah, I got it. Just went on. Shift D. 129, 133, 137. Get rid of that one. Why did the music stop? It's just loading. Alright, whatever, it's fine. Oh, let's go to the beginning. Shift. Hold on. Shift D. Y. Alright. Go all the way to like 185. Actually, no. 165 and then 180. Right, okay. Alright, and then the 185 where we close it. Alright. Beginning. Hold on. Go to beginning. No. Well, I need to move these over a bit. Hold on. Move these over a bit. Oh, I think that's good. All right. Just end it right there. Or 220 would be a good spot to end it. All right. Oh, it took forever. You know, it's fine. Ugh. Hmm. Okay, we need to move the camera a bit. See how the render looks. Yeah, it's a good render. That little corner is annoying me, so you know what? We're gonna move it just. Who knows? Okay, it's in a good spot. Just that corner looks weird. All right. Now to see how it looks like when we play the animation. All right. Now we need to figure out how to render. Hold on. That's okay. Da, 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 da. Trying to think. Okay. Animation. Yeah, there we go. Render animation. Actually, oh no, let's go. It's a good way to. Hmm. Mhm.
Driving when they got a crack in their windshield.
In this tutorial, I will show you how to render your Blender 3D animation into a video file. And that way you'll be able to watch the video and show it to other people and upload it online. And the blend file that I'm using as an example is the finished project files of my sci-fi security drone tutorial series. So if you'd like to check out that tutorial, the link will be in the description. So the first thing that you need to do is make sure that your scene is all ready for animation. So when you click right up here on render and then click on render image or use the shortcut key of F12, you should be happy with the final result. So make sure that your scene is using the correct render engine that you want to use. In this case, I'm using Eevee, but you could also use Cycles. Also make sure that you're using the amount of samples that you want and check over all your render settings. And also if you want to do any compositing, make sure you've set that all up. So if you don't have the compositing tab, you can click on the plus here, you can click on general, and then you can click on compositing. So if you want to do any compositing, you could set that up. And also if you click right here on the output properties, make sure that the scene is being rendered at the resolution that you want. And then the other thing to check is the frame rate right down here, and I'm using the default frame rate, which is 24 frames per second. So once you've set up all the render settings and you like how the finished result is, we need to tell Blender to render out all of the frames into individual files in a folder on our computer. Now if you click right here on the output properties and open up this output, you're going to want to choose a file format. And most of the time you're going to want to choose a PNG file format because a PNG is a lossless image, meaning that it won't lose any of its quality. Whereas if you change this to a JPEG image, the image size will be a bit smaller, but it'll lose a little bit of the quality. So in most cases, you're going to want to use the PNG. Now you may be wondering why you can't just click here on the file format and choose FFmpeg video and render this directly out to a video file. Well, you can do that if you want to, but in most cases, I would recommend not doing that. And why you don't want to directly render your 3D animation to a video file is because while you're rendering, if Blender crashes, then the file is going to become corrupt. Or let's say you're rendering the 3D scene and then Blender just runs out of memory, then the render would stop and then the file wouldn't be complete or the file might become corrupt. And so you'd have to re-render it all over again. Or if your computer crashes or loses power or gets turned off for some reason, then again the file is going to become corrupt if it hasn't finished yet. And the benefits of rendering out to image files first is that if for some reason you want to pause or stop the render halfway through, then you can just hit the escape key while it's rendering and that's going to stop the render, and then you can just check and see how many frames it's rendered, and then here on the start frame on the timeline you can just set this to the number that you want to start at,
that's pretty
and
handy.
then you can click on render and render animation again. And also if you're looking through the rendered frames and you see a few glitches or problems with some of the renders, then you can just go back to that frame, you can fix the error and then just re-render that frame. So now that we've set the file format to PNG, we want to click on this little file icon right here, and this is going to save an output to save the images. So then you can just locate to a folder where you have your project files, and then I'm going to click on the plus here to add a new folder, and I could just call this like rendered frames. Then I could go inside this folder, and then I can click on the accept button. And then you can click here on render and click on render animation, or you can use the shortcut key, which is Control F12. So the animation is finished, and I've located to the folder where I saved the images. And you can see it saved all the images by the frame number. So I can open up these images and I can look through them and I can make sure I like how they look. Now to turn all of the rendered images into a video file, we just need to use some sort of video editor. So if you use some other video editing program, then you can just use that and you can add in the frames as an image sequence. I'm going to use Blender's video editor. So if you don't have the video editing tab right up here, then you can click on the plus and you can go down here to video editing and click on video editing. You can also click right up here on file and then you can click on new and then you can choose video editing. So I can press Shift A and then I want to click right here on the image or sequence. And then you can just locate to the folder where you have text or effects, and you could also add music and sound effects and just do all of the video editing. So we can now render this out to a final animation. So what you want to do is click around the output properties, and I'm going to open up the output here. And right here we can choose a location for Blender to render out the video. So let's click on the file icon. And then I will locate to the folder with my other project files, and right down here I'm going to give this a name, and I'm going to call it
whatever animation settings. Just want to make sure that because here's the thing. I'm trying to make sure where I'm gonna render the animation. I don't want it looking like this, where it's. I want it to look smooth and crisp like that. But the problem is that I want it to be shaded like this. And I don't know how I'm gonna, because like I can see all the frames per second are getting lost. And I don't know how to do that. I'll figure this out later, but I think we're at a good spot right now, so we're gonna save this. And how long have I been streaming for? 3 hours? Okay, that's pretty good. Alright, I'll worry about this later. Oh, fudge. Oh. Alright, also, I keep hearing this crackle in my headset, and it's driving me nuts. Yeah, I'll worry about doing this. I'll worry about figuring this out later. But for right now, thank you to everyone who dropped by and said hi, who gave me some tips and advice, and helps me out in general. Thank you very much. I appreciate you giving me your time of day. I really appreciate it. Hope you have a good day yourself, and I will see all of you later. Bye bye.